everyone? Welcome back to Sports Time HQ. I am your host, Fernando. Joining with me today is my co-host, Keith. And Keith, both our teams getting wins this week.
No, your team got wins. Mine
I
didn't.
know. I just wanted to rub it in. I just wanted to rub that in.
Yeah. I mean, your team had a great win. I mean, the Lions didn't even score
I didn't
anything.
expect it.
No,
I didn't expect it at all.
I didn't expect it either. But what a way to come back, I suppose, for your Patriots. Great win. Seahawks, they fell short in the end. Yep. Another exciting game. Since our defense is not very good, I suppose, but it's very young. But Gino balled out again and gave us a chance, but we just fell short in the end.
Yeah, unfortunate for the Seahawks. So I just really wanted to rub that in. The Patriots. I don't know how the Patriots won. The fact that they even shut out the number one scoring offense absolutely surprised me. I mean, it blew my mind. I could have said that was my surprise of the week, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it surprised me too that I wasn't surprised that the Patriots won. It's a tough place to go and go against a Bill Belichick Patriots team, but to not score anything, I'm like, holy crap, what's going on? I mean, like you said, number one offense. Jamal Williams did nothing. Jared Goff did nothing. The whole offense, TJ Hawkinson, which I'll talk about later, after his big week last week, did nothing. I mean, and your boys kind of ran through them, and another Jacoby Myers came back and had a decent game too. So it was good. It was a good weekend for your boys.
Yeah, good overall performance from the Patriots, but it's time. Let's go into our deep dive in notes. We talked about it last week. This first one, Matt Rule, he's finally out of a job. Former Carolina head coach, he got fired. They also fired defensive coordinator Phil Snow and assistant special teams Ed Foley. So it seems like they're just going to redo that whole entire coaching core. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do because we'll lead right into the next one. And you can dive right in afterwards. Buffalo Bills, possibly a blockbuster trade coming very, very soon, maybe. Christian McCaffrey to the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, you called it last week asking, who was on the block. And we kind of said Matt Rule was our number one guy that would be out the door soon. And, a week later, he's gone. Mm-hmm. No surprise. It looks like they're going to blow it all up again in Carolina. Yeah, I could see them taking trade offers for the likes of McCaffrey. I've also heard that DJ Moore, his team's inquiring about him too. I suppose it all depends what they want. I've heard it's at least 2 first-round picks for McCaffrey because I heard a few rumors that the Seahawks were inquiring. I don't think they'll go get them because I think that'll be a waste,
I mean, unless you trade Ken Walker.
Maybe something like that. We add in, Ken Walker or some more pieces for them. But the Bills definitely seem the most interesting, which kind of surprises me because they just went and got James Cook in the draft and Singletary is actually doing okay. And it's an offense that doesn't really rely on the running backs that heavy. But if you have CMC, it'll be just like they would be. I know they're favorites for the Super Bowl right now, but they'd be overwhelming favorites and it'd be a very big surprise if they didn't make it if they got CMC. But yeah, Baker Mayfield's out now with a high ankle sprain.
Ghost is back.
The Ghost will come back in. It looks like it's going to be PJ Walker, actually. I don't think
really.
Arnold. Yeah, the talk is it's PJ Walker. So that my thinking is they're really going to blow it up and say, screw this year after 5 weeks, and hope they get the number one pick in the draft next year.
So my question to you is, for fantasy, do you want to stream any of those backups like Robbie Anderson or who's the backup running back? I don't know. They keep switching it off for Carolina.
Foreman
is it Foreman?
Chuba Hubbard or
is Chuba still there? I don't know.
He is. I mean, I'm not. If CMC like you start CMC every week, no matter what team he's on, because he's going to get so much work. But outside of that, like I'm not. Like DJ Moore hasn't been good this year. Purely because Baker Mayfield hasn't been good this year. I think, he's leaning towards Robbie Anderson more. Now looks like PJ Walker coming in. I would, other than CMC, I would not be in on either of these guys. Unless DJ Moore gets a trade, like there is talk there too.
Which will be interesting to see. I mean, if DJ Moore gets traded, Robbie Anderson, his production will go up. I'm fine getting Chuba Hubbard. Because, I mean, we saw his potential that he did last year leading the running back core. So I'm intrigued, but Carolina not intrigued with them.
No, not intrigued by them at all. But it's one to watch, see what happens. It will be blockbuster if CMC did get moved. if it's the Bills, it's the Bills, but I think there'll still be a blockbuster if he goes to any other team.
So, moral of the story is Carolina's owner, they need to hire me and Keith as a co-GM, and we'll run the team, make sure
that's it.
Baker and the Ghost is gone.
Baker and the Ghost is gone. We'll get, we'll probably end up trading CMC, but we'll get way more than 2 first rounds. We'll do a good job.
Yeah, we won't trade him for peanuts. Don't worry.
Exactly.
Especially for DJ Moore too, because technically he's still young, like 24.
Yeah, loads of potential.
So, and who knows? Maybe next year we get CJ Stroud and maybe a really good wide receiver because wide receivers going to fall.
Yep.
Anyways, Carolina owner, call us up. Anyways, let's go on to our next one. Cooper Rush. I mean, it's been the story this season of the backups. Cooper Rush, he's been dominating the Cowboys. I mean, the only loss that they have is because of Dak Prescott. And Dak Prescott got hurt. Cooper Rush came in, just was unable to get the win there in the game 1. But, I mean, the question now falls to, do they move on from Dak Prescott?
I mean, it's hard to, after what they didn't go ahead and pay him. But from my point of view, I'm like, you have a winning quarterback, you've got a winning formula there, everything's going well. I think you just kind of rock the boat by putting Dak back in. I mean, it's unfortunate.
You think Dak goes back in?
I think he will. I don't think he should. I think Cooper Rush should stay there. And I think this offense is playing, it's doing well. He's getting all the wins. I mean, you're not probably happy if you have CeeDee Lamb or some of these other players, but it's working. Dalton Schultz again. I mean, it's working for real life NFL. It's not working really for some of these fantasy guys. But I think personally you keep what's working, and this is working. So I personally think Dak goes back in when he's fit, but I don't think he should.
Yeah, I know that they talked about possibly having him start this past week. They ended up not starting him. The question is, do they start him this week? And if he does start and say they lose, now what do you do?
Exactly. You just took out a quarterback that had, has won all the games he's played. And then, you bring in your star quarterback, which is fair, but he loses again. It's a tricky situation. I think Jerry Jones is a smart man. He wants to go to a Super Bowl. He'll do what's best for business and what's best for that team. And he'll be telling, Mike McCarthy that, it's Cooper Rush and he has to play if it comes to that situation. Yeah.
And 4-1 Cowboys are taking on a division rival 5-0 Eagles. So it's going to be an interesting game.
It should be a good game. I mean, the Cowboys defense is balling out as well. And the Eagles on both sides of the ball are very good. So it's going to be a great game.
Did you? I didn't look. I didn't remember what you picked for your game predictions. Did you pick the Rams to beat the Cowboys last week?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was the lone person between us to pick the Cowboys.
You picked the Cowboys? Yeah.
I picked the Cowboys. And you know what? If Cooper Rush starts, I think I might pick the Cowboys to beat the Eagles.
Really?
That might be my bold prediction of the week.
Yeah, I just seen Jerry Jones came out just before the show saying that I think Dak's going to throw tomorrow.
I think he is going to be back this week. I'll be shocked if he doesn't.
Yeah, they want to he's throwing tomorrow. They want to see if he can spin the ball comfortably and everything like that. So I think you'll know more probably tomorrow, Thursday, what's going on with Dak.
If Dak goes back in, I think I'm more comfortable starting Dalton Schultz. Right now, I'm benching Dalton Schultz.
Yeah. I think Dak is back. Uptick for Schultz, uptick for CeeDee Lamb. Yeah.
No donuts. No more donuts from Schultz. I have this bet with Marcus Grant that Kyle Pitts and Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is going to finish over Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is out and he sucks, and Dalton Schultz can't do anything still.
No, and Kyle Pitts hadn't done anything even when he was on the field. So I mean, you needed just some points from Schultz.
I just need a little bit of points. That's all I need.
Yeah.
I think Pitts is still over him by just a little bit because of the last two donuts.
That's bad.
It's so bad. The Eagles, though, we'll go right into the Eagles since it's a big matchup. They're 5-0. They almost lost to the Cardinals, and then 2 weeks ago they almost lost to the Jaguars. So the question is, I mean, I think they're bound for a loss soon. Do you think they're bound for a loss? Are they coming?
They're not going to go undefeated. That's not going to happen. I mean,
so when they do go undefeated, I'll replay this clip.
Yeah, you can replay this clip, but they won't go. I don't think they will. I mean, Hurts just gives them a chance to win every game. He's been very good so far. Even the running games, Miles Sanders, where people took him in draft, must be really happy with the production he's given. He's been very solid, very consistent so far. And they play good football and defense too. So, I mean, yeah, they've been tight games, but they've been on the right side of the tight games, which is a sign of a good team. So maybe the loss comes this week against the I'm not saying your Cowboys, but your pick anyways. But I would lean Eagles though, so I think we'll be on the other side of the fence for this one.
I would lead the Eagles if Dak starts. I think I'm leading Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. Before we move on, breaking news has just came out. Patriots running back Damien Harris is likely to miss multiple games because of the hamstring injury that he suffered in Sunday's win. So it's Ramondre season.
Yeah, big uptick for Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, he had a decent week against Detroit. I think he got about 19, 20 fancy points. He had a good outing there. So, I mean, the backfield should be more or less his now. So, yeah, imagine. Like, I think he looks like the best running back for the Patriots. But now it's like his time to take over and show Bill Belichick that he is the number one. So yeah, big uptick if you've got Ramondre Stevenson. He's starting as an RB2, I think.
Yeah, and a sneaky guy is Pierce Strong, the backup for Ramondre. I don't expect him to do much, but Pierre was, I think, a 4th-round pick, so 4th or 5th. So yeah, I'm down for it.
Depends what, and you know what the Patriots do? They always use more than one running back too.
Exactly. So that's the breaking news. I mean, Damien Harris, tough blow. That just means that most likely, I don't think the Patriots re-sign Damien Harris after the season.
No, I don't think so. I didn't think they were going to anyways, but I think it depends what happens now with this injury, how long he's out, and what happens when he comes back. But yeah, I don't think he's getting re-signed.
Yeah, I'll be shocked. Moving on to the 4-1 teams. So right now we have the Bills, the Chiefs, the Vikings, and the Cowboys and Giants.
That division.
I mean, I thought that division was going to be a slugfest to try and get wins. Clearly not.
No, I mean, the Giants had a great win. I thought that game looked like it was over early on, that the Packers were going to run away with it, and then the Giants just kept plugging away, got back into it, and got the win in the end. I mean, what a win! Saquon, what can we say? Looks back to his best. Yeah. Daniel Jones is improving for sure, I think. And this Brian Daboll offense is looks good. So yeah, it's very interesting. Nobody, I don't think, would have called that the Giants would have been 4-1 after 5 games.
And if you bet on it, you definitely probably have gotten a good amount of money.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So it seems like Daboll is probably one of the newer coaches that will mostly keep his job for a little bit longer, at least.
Definitely. I mean, there's probably some Giants fans out there who said they'd be lucky if they've got 4 wins, over the whole season, and they've got 4 wins already. So, like, who knows where it goes for them?
And not to mention, you're also not really playing with many receivers. It's basically just Barkley. Barkley's the only one that's showing up.
Yeah, they're all banged up this week, especially. So, yeah, I mean, they're doing a good job there.
In redraft leagues, I mean, I know he was drafted in a lot of leagues. Kenny Golladay, is he officially like droppable?
Oh yeah. If he wasn't droppable,
yeah, I dropped him last week.
Yeah, I would have dropped him a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, he's not worth holding on to.
He's toast. Moving on to the Dolphins quarterback situation. So they're kind of in desperate need of a quarterback because Tua doesn't look like he's coming back anytime soon. And not to mention, Teddy went down and got hurt. So Skylar Thompson came in, and he couldn't get the win for the Jets. So, I mean, for the Dolphins against the Jets. So, yeah, seems like Dolphins are in trouble.
Yeah, I think their season could be blown up here now. Who knows? Unlucky, I suppose. You very rarely got a situation where you got to put the 3rd choice quarterback in. But yeah, that's the way it kind of goes. The Dolphins have the pieces on offense, and their defense had started to look pretty good this season. But when you put a 3rd string quarterback in, that he tried. I don't think you probably see a lot of worse guys out there. He definitely tried though. But it's just not good enough. And if they're gonna, I think they've ruled Tua out this week again, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And who knows what's going on with Teddy. So if Skylar Thompson's out there again, I'm not expecting them to win. I think they play the Vikings this week as well. So yeah, I'm not expecting a win. Do they go and look for a backup or somebody on a bench to come and fill a spot for a few weeks until Tua's back? Maybe, I don't know. Who's out there really? I mean, Heineke is one that comes to mind, but I think he could probably get in Washington sooner rather than later after what Wentz did this week. So yeah, I don't know. It's
Minshew magic.
Minshew Magic, exactly. He's out there too. There's probably a couple of guys we go through. I don't know, Sam Darnold, like you said, the Ghostman.
The Ghostman. Well, the only reason I think they won't is because of his salary.
Yeah, his contract's too big.
And the only person I do think that they could maybe try and sneak in is bring back Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitz, I don't know. Cam is still floating out there saying he wants a team too.
He's not going to get a team. No.
Yeah.
No, he did terrible with the Patriots, and he's fine with staying on the bench and in free agency.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting because if the Dolphins want to be competitive this year, make the playoffs, I think they will have to do something if Tua's not going to be back in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't think Skylar Thompson's going to go far with that team.
No, he's not at all.
What about Bailey's? They won't trade in division. I mean, if Dak Prescott comes back, they could trade away Cooper Rush.
I don't think they'll do that.
I don't think they will.
I think that's too much. That could still be down to a QB competition. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think it will happen.
What do you think of Zappy for years? I mean,
that man's zipping it.
Would you be happy with him to continue playing, or do you want Mac back?
That's an interesting one.
It's like the Cooper Rush. Like, I know it's only one game. We've only got small sample size of Zappy, but like you can't really knock what he did, and he got the win.
I don't think Zappy is going to be the answer. I think a lot of people are overhyping him for what he is right now. Obviously, he was a 4th-round quarterback, so he does have potential. We saw Zappy go in the 4th round. We saw Hurts go in the 4th round, and you see where Hurts is now. I don't think that they'll do anything about it. And something to keep an eye on. This is October 11th, 2022. We're going to look at it in the future in free agency. Lamar Jackson is not going to re-sign with the Ravens. No. And I think he goes to the Patriots.
Really?
I think that that's what Bill Belichick wants. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what Bill Belichick wants. Because if I'm correct, back in that 2018 draft, Lamar Jackson was going to be a Patriot in the 2nd round. And then the Ravens traded up. Because there was no quarterbacks drafted in the 2nd round until, I think the 3rd round where some random guy came in. But Lamar Jackson was that last quarterback until the 3rd round. So I think Lamar Jackson was going to drop to the 2nd and go to the Patriots, where the Patriots would have probably traded up to get him.
Yeah.
And I think the Ravens just came in and just sneaked in with 32. So I don't think they re-signed Lamar, because I think Lamar's going to want too much money.
Well, it sounds like he wants too much money. But because what were they, $250 million or something was the offer? We kind of heard rumors come out.
Yeah.
So, and he turned it down, so we wanted more guaranteed money. So yeah, I don't expect Lamar to be there. I really don't. I think he's going out and unless they offer him something crazy, but he's going out and prove this year for him is to go out and prove that he's worth what he wants.
And not to mention why if you're going to re-sign him, why are you going to, if you're wanting to try and re-sign him, why are you going to get rid of his favorite receiver, Marquise Brown?
Yeah. Very true. And he didn't even know. He didn't know that was happening.
And he hated it. I remember he tweeted about it. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'll be shocked. I think he lost respect to Baltimore. And I think he stays in the AFC. And I think the Patriots are a really good option for him. I would be sad for Mac Jones, yes, because I love Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is a great quarterback. But if he continues to struggle like he did this season, coming back from his injury, I think that Patriots might have to move on because they're not a team to rebuild.
Yeah, that Bill always wants to win. He's always got that winning mentality. So it's not like you blow up that team and go again. It's kind of do it piece by piece and keep your team competitive. So I don't know. That'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting move.
Sorry, that's my little rant of Lamar Jackson. I mean, other than Pete Carroll fleecing the Broncos with the trade. I mean, obviously.
Well, so far, yeah, we're definitely fleeced the Broncos.
So far, I mean, the Broncos have looked absolutely trash, where the Seahawks somehow looked really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because if Gino keeps us up and plays well all year, what do you do next year? Because the plan was to go get a quarterback in the draft. I imagine you still get that quarterback, but Gino still gets, Gino probably still has to start, and you can work with that young defense and try and improve it. Because I think the Seahawks are building something. I mean, I was expecting them to kind of get blown away more and not be as competitive, but they're competitive in every game so far.
Not to mention that you guys have the same record as the Broncos right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, and Gino's stats are all better than Russ's. I mean, I'm not getting too ahead of myself with that, Russ can turn it on when he wants, so we know he's a really good quarterback. But if they don't, and Russ doesn't, turn it on soon, I think Hackett's going to be out of a job soon, and the Broncos
Hackett and McDaniels.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with both. But like the Broncos don't have any allegiance to Russ. Russ could be out too. They spent big money and they're not getting the production because they want that. For that type of money, you need instant production and instant wins. And at the moment, they're not getting it. So, Russ want to watch himself too. He will get a few more games and he will get a bit more time. But if it doesn't happen, I know he could be in trouble.
Yeah, now that we're on that topic, let's go to Bust of the Week. And my first bust of the week is Russell Wilson. I mean, Russell Wilson has looked awful, as we've mentioned. He scored 9.16 fantasy points this past week. He's only averaging 14.9 points. He only has 4 touchdowns with 3 interceptions on the season. I mean, that's not good at all. He goes on to face the Chargers this week. And not to mention, he's suffering from a torn lat in his shoulder and his throwing shoulder. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that and whether or not he's going to recover from it. Will he have to miss time is a question. There's no rumors that he has to miss time, but it's just something to monitor. But I think if the Broncos go again this week and they lose again, I really am going to be shocked if Hackett keeps the job. And I'll be shocked if there's something that happens with Denver.
Yeah, like I said there previously, I mean, they can't really suffer too many more losses. All the pieces are there on offense. Okay, they suffered a lot of injuries in that game against the Colts on defense. Bowles, he got injured. Ronald Darby got injured. They already missing Gregory. So the defense was what really was keeping them in games and, kept them in that game for a long time up until, overtime against the Colts. I don't know if their defense can do that going forward week in, week out. I mean, they're taking too many hits, too many bodies gone. So Russ is going to have to do something. And if Russ is out there, he has to play well. It doesn't matter if he's got this torn lat or whatever. If he's confident enough that he can go out there and play to his full potential, then there's no excuses. He's got to go out there and do his thing. If he's not healthy, then he doesn't play. That's the way it should be. But if they go out there and I think if they even get like 2 more losses, I think Hackett's gone. And, Russ is on the chopping block too, because okay, maybe Hackett's trying to turn Russ into this like Aaron Rodgers, which, just pocket pass or not run a lot, and it just doesn't suit. Fine, maybe we'll see the shackles be let off, or maybe they're going to change it and Russ can get out of the pocket and do all his work because he's always looked better when he's moving out of the pocket. But there's not been a whole lot of that. But just some of his decision making, like we seen on the last play when KJ Hamler was wide open.
It's Seattle all over again.
Yeah, exactly. It was that type of play all over again. So I don't know. There's a lot that needs to happen for the Broncos, I think, on offense to get it right. And it obviously starts with Hackett and Russ.
Yeah, and I think that if he does have to miss time, I don't think that backup quarterback Brett Rypien is going to be the answer. So it's interesting to see. I mean, you get paid so much money, and I've said it every single week. I don't think he deserved the money. And
we said it when it came out. I think it happened just
exactly.
On the show. So you paid the guy too soon. I mean, he hadn't thrown a ball this season when he got paid.
Yep.
I mean, like you wouldn't be paying him now if you hadn't previously done it. You wouldn't be paying him now. So I think the Broncos made a big mistake doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, Broncos Nation. You also have another potential GM spot. Keith and I are willing to, pick up the phone. I will pick up the phone for you guys. Don't worry. Anyways, let's go on to your bust of the week. Who are you hawking?
Yep, it's TJ Hawkinson coming off a big week, week 4, and then all of a sudden he puts up like 4 targets, 1 reception for 6 yards, and you're like, what? What's going on? I get it. The whole Lions offense, the whole Lions team sucked this week. Which was odd.
Just suck in general. They can't get wins.
Yeah, exactly. Even when they were scoring lots of points. But very surprising. I mean, Dan Campbell must be pulling his hair out going, what's going on with this team? Things look better. I get it. Their defense is not looking good. That was proven this week. But then again, the offense got nothing, didn't click. Everything was bad. Is it a game that they just kind of go, we throw that one away and, go again? But there's a lot of issues. I think I thought they had taken steps forward, especially on the offense. Now they've taken all them 2 steps back, as they say, like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So
Yep.
TJ Hawkinson, massive bust this week. You're expecting him to at least get 10, 12 points after a week where he got, 36, something like that the week before. So, yeah, big bust this week. Let down for most fantasy managers.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the question. Like, Matthew Stafford, when he was there, Hawkinson was consistently fantasy relevant. But since he hasn't been there, Jared Goff has not really targeted TJ Hawkinson all that much. It's been mainly the receivers like Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chark here and there, and then Josh Reynolds, and then Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift are there, and they're also getting some receptions too. So I'm intrigued to see what really, like, is this the last year that Hawkinson has to be relevant before people don't really see him as relevancy until a new quarterback shows or he goes to a different team?
I'm not sure. I think it's more he might just fall down the rankings charts for next year's a little bit. I mean, he's always kind of been in that 4 to 8 category, depending on how you rank them. He'll just probably fall out of the top 10, maybe. It's hard because he's just going to be end up one of them tight ends that you just can't predict. You know what I mean? He'll have his good weeks and his bad weeks. Like we're talking about Dalton Schultz earlier. You know what I mean? He was way more consistent last year, but there's the Dak Prescott factor there too. But he'll probably just go into, that category where you can't trust this guy, but if you need him for a stream week or something, you can play him. So that's what could happen.
Yeah, and I'll be intrigued to see. I mean, I liked Hawkinson since he was drafted. It's just fantasy relevancy has not been there since Matthew Stafford left. Not to mention the Lions' number 1 offense got shut out, and they go into their bye week this week. Something that's I think is very much needed for them. Lions going into the bye week 1-4, Texans 1-3-1, Raiders 1-4, Titans 3-2, and not to mention, are you surprised that the Titans are leading the division right now?
I mean, they look so bad, and then all of a sudden they kind of just went and said, "Okay, we just got to give Henry the ball lots and do everything that we usually do," and things have started to get better. I mean, I don't think Ryan Tannehill looks that great, but or I don't think that the team as a whole looked that great. But they managed 3 wins, so top of the division, they'll do what they usually do. They're always a team that are like they're okay. They'll outperform some weeks. They'll underperform the other weeks. They'll be close enough to the playoffs, but they're not a Super Bowl winning team.
Who wins the division in that conference?
Probably
division. Excuse me. What?
It's probably going to be them.
You think so?
In the end of the day, it probably will be. Why? Who do you think it will be?
I just hope it's not the Titans. They just look awful. I'd like to see the Jaguars.
Yeah, I don't think they look good. Like I said, they're just kind of like a bang average team, but they somehow managed to grind out wins.
Yeah, I mean, I like to see the Jaguars. I'd love to see my Davis Mills go to the playoffs. But
he hasn't looked as very good though. I mean, Davis Mills last year looked better than Davis Mills this year so far.
No, 100%. I mean, again, just like Mac Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
Really good last year. Doesn't look good this year.
Yeah.
Anyways, our 2 busts of the week was Russell Wilson and TJ Hawkinson. Now it's time to go to our biggest surprise of the week. And Keith, we'll start with you. Who is your biggest surprise?
My surprise is the guy that did all the damage to beat my Seahawks, and it was Taysom Hill. I mean, he got like 9 rushing attempts, 112 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, I don't know why someone just didn't tell Pete Carroll, when Taysom Hill's on the field, he's going to run, so stop Taysom Hill. It was very simple. I seen him come on, I was like, well, this is a run. I was like, oh, look, another touchdown. Oh, wait, there's a run, another touchdown. It just happened over and over. He got 34 fantasy points. What a great day. Surprised because he got the 34 fantasy points and the 3 touchdowns. He's not going to do this every week. It's the consistency thing with Taysom Hill. He's been on the field more because of Jameis Winston not there and Andy Dalton's out there. Next week he might be on the field at all, or he might get 1 touchdown or something like that. But the 34 points is not going to happen every week. So that's why it was a surprise to me to see him get so high. Now, I know the Seahawks defenses are good, and I've obviously said it a lot, because I've watched a lot of the Seahawks, but I still wouldn't have expected Taysom Hill to run through us for, 3 touchdowns and 112 yards. So, yeah, big surprise, but good week if you put Taysom Hill in. He's definitely a guy you can stream, though, because he's going to have some good games. He's going to have some bad games.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But again, it's someone that you're just on the fence, like, he could really boom this week, but if I start him, he's gonna bust. I mean, the man has seen 30 snap percentage. Like, that's been his highest snap percentage, and it was last week with 30. It was 30, Then it went to 20 in week 4, 9 in week 2, didn't play week 3, and then week 1 was 26. Technically, he's listed as a tight end, even though he only has 1 target with 1 reception. The rest of it is all rushing. That's all he is.
It's just a hybrid running back or something. I don't know what way you want to call it, but that's what it is. He's like a running back. He's not even a tight end, a quarterback, a receiver. It's some sort of combination of all, and that turns into this hybrid running back. When he gets the ball, he just runs through everyone.
Not to mention, this man's 32 years old.
I know. He's not slow either, though.
No, he's got some speed. He's skinny. Yeah. He can run.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Seattle, you should have listened to Keith. They should call him up. Be like, listen, Taysom's on the field. You got to stop him.
Just stop running. Yeah, don't mind. The ball will not be thrown. They'll fake it or whatever. It'll be game. Taysom Hill's just going to run through us. Simple.
Like, it's crazy. But I do agree with you. I agree that he definitely could be a streamer every week. It's just the only question is, are you willing to take a chance to start him? That's the biggest question.
Exactly, because the upside is there, as you've seen it this week, but there's going to be weeks where he could score not even 5 points. So.
And you know what? If Hill ends up scoring like maybe 15 points next week, that means that he would have scored 3 out of his 4 weeks, I think, or 5 weeks that he's been able to score over double digits. So maybe it's time to take a chance after next week if he does score. But again, I don't really see anything happening.
No, I just say, you put him in, plug and play, see what happens. You get the boom. Other weeks he's not gonna get that high. But it's more like we always say, we're looking for consistency. Right?
Yeah.
Do you want these guys that are getting 34 points 1 week and 4 points next? Not really, because it's that you're kind of leaving it to chance whether you win your matchup that week. You want the guys that are going to get you solid 15 points, every week. They're the guys that are going to help. So if you can maybe get a bit more consistent over the next couple of weeks, then maybe you say, yeah, he's a guy you leave in there and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Let's go on to my guy. My guy's Josh Reynolds. Reason why I'm picking Josh Reynolds is he kind of surprised me this week. I mean, you're going up against the Patriots. You expected the Lions to score everything. They scored a donut. And the only one that was actually fantasy relevant was Josh Reynolds. I mean, Josh Reynolds, he still managed to get you some good enough points. I think he was just over 15. Josh Reynolds, 24.9% owned. He's averaging 13.7 points a game. The reason why he surprised me as well is, I mean, yeah, you expect him to do really good because Amon's out. Amon was limited. But when Amon's on the field, I mean, Amon should be getting all the targets, all the receptions. And it ended up not being that. It ended up being Reynolds. So he's my biggest surprise of the week. I wouldn't add him this week only because he's on a bye this week.
Yeah, he's not a guy you go at. You can wait and see. But I actually like the talent of Josh Reynolds. I actually think he's a good, solid player. He actually had a good week last week too. But everybody was saying, with all the players out. But he proved that even with Amon-Ra on the field, he was still fantasy relevant. So, yeah, nice surprise. I think he's a talented player. It's just interesting. You just got to watch out for what happened this week with this Lions. If you're in on these Lions guys, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, TJ Hawks, and Josh Reynolds, Jamal Williams, you got to watch and see what happens after the bye week. I was expecting these guys to put up a donut this week against the Patriots after being the number 1 scoring offense. So just keep an eye on what's going on. I wouldn't be going out and rushing to get these guys. Not that, Josh Reynolds might be out there in the waiver wire, but the rest won't be. But still, you gotta make a choice about who to play, come week 7.
Yeah, you know what? The targets have been there for Reynolds. I mean, the last 3 weeks, he's had over 8 targets. And that's something you want to see for someone who you want to start. Production. Yep. He scored double digits the last 4 weeks. Going to this bye week, I mean, this could be a guy that you want to sell high right now because of his value right now and where he is. I mean, he's wide receiver 23.
I mean, I think in redraft leagues, I don't think people will go to won't go too heavy after him. But in dynasty leagues, maybe, you might have people that are struggling at the position. There's a guy you could sell and see what you get.
Exactly. I mean, if you're in desperate need of drop picks, boom, go for it. Dynasty. Josh Reynolds, Taysom Hill, our 2 guys. Now it's time to go to our streamers of the week. And who are you streaming this week? Is it my cousin?
Well, if Kirk Cousins is your cousin, well then yes. It's Kirk Cousins, and he's on the borderline. We always say we look for a 70% roster team. He's right on that line. So I just think he had 296 yards and a touchdown last week. He's playing Miami this week. I just think with no good starting quarterback, Kirk Cousins will be on the field a lot, and he should have a lot of production. So I think he's a great streamer this week. I think, he got 22 fantasy points last week. I think he'll get more. I think he'll be 25 plus this week because he'll just be on the field a lot, feeding Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, and you'll have the running backs involved too. But I think he's a great streamer this week.
I like Kirk Cousins. I liked him coming into the season. I mean, I think he's been a solid quarterback coming in, even with Adam Thielen, like you mentioned. Can't forget about Irv Smith, the guy who is still yet to be fantasy relevant. But yeah, I like Kirk a lot. And something to keep in mind is after next week, he goes on a bye week. So in one quarterback leagues, you may see him dropped. And yeah. I think that's a league that you got to snag him because he's a top 10 quarterback. I mean, I think right now he's like 11.
Yeah.
So I think after next week, after he does very well in his production this week, he's going to be dropped. Go get him because he might be under 70% owned.
Yeah, if you've got the capacity to stick him on your bench even through the bye week, go get him.
Yeah. My guy is Devin Duvernay, and this man, he's been Duvernaying it up again with Bateman. I mean, Bateman was inactive last week, and he's a wide receiver 24 right now. So he's just above Josh Reynolds, and he's averaging 13.2 points a game, 24.9% owned. I'd pick Duvernay and expect to start him against a division rival if Rashad Bateman is out again this week. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I love Duvernay.
No, I mean, I still think even if Bateman's out there, we've seen Duvernay being relevant for fantasy this year, and he is the kick returner and stuff. So if you're a league, give points for that and everything. There's extra points there. Early on in that game against the Bengals, Lamar just hit Duvernay over and over and over again. And he has the big play potential as well. We've seen it already this season. So, yeah, I really like the call. I think he's very, very much fantasy relevant. A guy coming into the season that you wouldn't have probably, had too much hope for, or you wouldn't been thinking in your leagues, but definitely in as probably, wide receiver 2 in deep leagues, like a deep, even 12 team leagues, probably he's good enough to play there. He's a good flex play anyways in most leagues. But yeah, I like the call with Devin Duvernay.
Yeah, besides Buffalo game where he scored only 9.1 points, every other week he scored double-digit points. And week 1 against the Jets, he scored 21.4 points. Yeah. Going to face the Giants this week, even though the Giants are 4-1, I mean, I expect another big week for Duvernay.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And if Bateman's back, that wouldn't scare me. If you're a guy that's putting Duvernay in as your flex, I would keep him there.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, he's a solid flex play, even with Bateman in.
Yep, for sure.
So that's going to do it for our streamers, busts, and surprises. Again, bust, Russell Wilson, TJ Hawkinson. Surprises, Josh Reynolds, Taysom Hill. And once again, streamers, Devin Duvernay and Kirk Cousins. It's time to go to our waiver wire quarterbacks. Keith, I'll start with you again. Who is your waiver wire quarterback of the week?
I think it's a guy you had last week, and it's my boy, Gino Smith. I mean, we've seen it back-to-back weeks. He's had really good production for fantasy. This week, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns, 24 fantasy points. I mean, the guy has looked really good. Let's just call it as it is. I wasn't too hopeful this year with Gino coming in. But if you look at some of the other quarterbacks playing this year, Baker Mayfield, Carson Wentz, you would rather have Gino Smith over them two guys straight away. Even I think I'd still put Gino over Cooper Rush definitely in fantasy because I know Cooper Rush's numbers weren't that good. Gino has been balling. They played the Cards this week, and they're being given up over 19 points to quarterbacks, fantasy points to quarterbacks. So this game is going to be high scoring again. The Seahawks defense is going to let in a ton of points against Kyler Murray, but I think Gino is going to ball out again and have another really big week. So Gino Smith might pick a quarterback. Yeah,
I mean, I had him as my waiver wire quarterback last week. He turned into the Generation O. Mr. Smith is doing all he can. I mean, he is absolutely lightning hot this season. Only one game did he score under 17 points, and that was against San Francisco, who does have a decently well defense. Yep. Only scored 6 points, 0 touchdowns that week, and he had only 197 yards. But I'm not concerned with that. And again, Arizona, you just said it, 19 points. I mean, Arizona is a team where their defense is not the greatest, but they will allow big yardage for quarterbacks. And I'm not surprised if I see Gino scoring another 20-plus points.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was at 24 this week. I think he'll be 24 plus next week. I think this is going to be a really high game because the Cards are going to bring it. They have to win games. That's kind of the way it's going to be. And it's kind of the same with the Seahawks. So I'm thinking another really high scoring game. If you're into bet, you definitely bet the over in this game, just FYI. But I think Gino goes 24 plus this week.
Do you know what the over is at all in this
I haven't seen it.
I might have to find out. But yeah, I love Gino. He would have actually been my quarterback again if someone didn't take him.
Sorry.
It's okay. I decided to give it to you, But I'll go with my guy. And I mentioned him a couple times already this season, maybe a few times already. And it's Carson Wentz. And let's be real. If you hear Carson Wentz and you hear him being named for a waiver wire, you think, oh, why is this person picking Carson Wentz? Like, why? I mean, Carson Wentz just gave me a dud 2 weeks. Yeah, like, I know. He scored you under 10 points against Philadelphia and Dallas. Here's the issue. The 2 games that he scored under 10 points was against division rivals. I think that's why that he scored under 10 points. Every other week, he scored 21-plus points. And he faces Chicago this week. Chicago, who just gave up 25.24 points to Kirk the Dirk. So this man, Kirk, balled out, and he's going to give it over to Carson Wentz, going to pass that torch to Wentz so he can ball out against Chicago. Chicago Bears, good luck next season. We'll see you next season. Carson Wentz, it's your time to shine. Let's get back into it.
I don't mind the call this week for, the matchup. It's great. It's Thursday Night Football. We've got Commanders and Bears. Yay, another great game on Thursday. But I think Carson Wentz can do well this week. But the only thing is, it's a plug and play and then move on maybe next week. Who knows? But the only thing is with Carson Wentz, if he does not put up good numbers or he does not good, I think Taylor Heineke will be in.
Wow.
After this, yeah, I think, because I don't know if you heard Ron Rivera's interview when they were asking, what's the difference between the other teams in the division and us, and he just went quarterback.
So yeah, I did hear that.
I mean, I think he meant it as in they've got established quarterbacks that have been there for a few years, and not just new ones coming in every year. I get that's what he meant, but it doesn't sound great when he's saying the problem is more or less our quarterback. So Heineke could be in sooner rather than later, but I think Wentz will do enough this week, and he'll definitely do enough for fancy teams against a pretty poor Bears team.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were on the show in the summer with, I don't know, I think it was with Michael Florio, I think I was talking to. It was the week where Russell Wilson got traded, Wentz got traded, Ryan got traded. And I mean, I mentioned that Wentz, I don't like the fit for Wentz in Washington. I didn't like it at all. And neither did I like it Ryan in Indianapolis. He's mid-Ryan. And he's not doing good. Carson Wentz, his time is okay. Fantasy-wise, he's doing great. He's a top 10 quarterback in fantasy, which you wouldn't expect that with the 2 dud weeks. But, I mean, it is what it is with Carson Wentz in Washington. You're going to have to deal with it because you paid him. You have a little bit of salary cap that you had to pay for. So yeah. I think you're going to deal with it this season. Maybe you try to just lose again this year and go for a quarterback next year.
Yeah, the thing is, why his numbers are so good, minus the 2 dud weeks, is because they've been playing from behind so much that he has to go throw a lot, which is good for us fantasy players. But it just means if, like last week, where he, screws up basically on the goal line and they lose the game, then that's when the coaches will be thinking, right, you might need to make a change in a couple of weeks if things don't turn around. So he's not a guy to put in and just leave in there. You probably have no choice if you've got a 2 QB league or super flex league. But in a 1 QB league, yeah, he's definitely streamable this week, but then maybe move him out after that.
Yeah, our waiver wire quarterbacks, Carson Wentz, Gino Smith. We have a question from John. John asking that he trades Dalvin Cook, Deebo Samuel, and Gerald Everett, and he gets Jonathan Taylor, Mike Evans, Dalton Schultz. I like the Jonathan. Trade. Yeah, I like the trade a lot. I'm not a big Deebo guy, not a big Dalvin Cook guy. Everett, I do love. He did have a dud this week. But Jonathan Taylor, Mike Evans, Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz can be such a sneaky guy to trade for because of how little he's done. 2 donuts the past 2 weeks. I think if Dak Prescott does come back, like we mentioned earlier, I think Dalton Schultz's production goes way back up and he becomes another top 10 tight end. Jonathan Taylor was out this week. I expect him back. And Evans is Evans. You just can't find enough of him. He's really good.
Yeah, I like the trade. I like Jonathan Taylor side. I don't mind the other side either. To be honest, I'm a Debo guy. Gerald Everett is just not consistent. I know Dalton Schultz isn't, but the thing is, if that comes back, you're expecting Dalton Schultz's numbers to definitely go up big time. He will see a lot more targets. Mike Evans, wasn't the greatest week this week, but forget about that. He's better weeks always ahead, and he has Tom Brady, so he's always fine. Jonathan Taylor, Evans, Dalton Schultz. I like this side over Cook, Debo, and Gerald Everett.
Yeah, John, I think you had a good trade. I think you hit the nail.
Good trade. I mean, I think he did well there because there's probably some guy there going, "Oh, these guys are duds outside of Evans." That way. You're just gonna have to take it on the chin for now. Maybe you might have another dud week, but I think Jonathan Taylor is gonna get better.
It's the offensive line.
He's too talented. Yeah, but he's too talented. He's going to see more work. He's going to get the production. Do you know what I mean? Mike Evans is going to be really good, and then Dalton Schultz, I think, is just waiting for Dak to come back. So I think to me that's side one.
Yeah, I would be fine getting Evans, Taylor, and also Schultz. That's actually a trade I would do. Yeah. I would do that trade.
It was actually a good trade because the other guy getting was it Dalvin Cook, Debo, and Gerald Everett.
Yeah,
I mean you can't go wrong with Debo. Dalvin Cook he was disappointing up to this week. Mm-hmm. So you'd be hoping that, that's him now and he's going to hit the ground running. And Gerald Everett, he's plug and play, see what happens. He's not very consistent as we've seen this week. So it was actually a pretty fair trade, I think, but I like the Jonathan Taylor side.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Good trade, John. Let's go into our running backs and let's ground the pound and go with Raheem Mostert. 68.6% owned. He's only averaging, of course, 9.1 points, but that's because the first 3 weeks was kind of which running back is the guy. But don't forget that Tua was also in those 3 weeks. Don't forget that. So that's why they passed the ball a lot. It was Tyrique, Jalen, Waddle. But the last two, he's had 10-plus points the last 2 weeks. 18 carries, 113 yards, 1 touchdown. Don't forget about his 3 targets for 1 reception and 9 yards. He's starting to solidify that he is going to take that lead back role, and he's going to earn that role as he already has. The only reason why I want him as my waiver wire, he was your waiver wire, Keith, last week, is because Miami is in desperate need of a quarterback. And you're not going to win with Teddy, not to mention he's in concussion protocol. He may not even play this week. Who knows? And I don't think Skylar Thompson's going to be balling out like we saw with New England. Bailey Zappi. I mean, he did great, but he didn't overpass the ball. It was more to the running backs with Damien and Ramondre. So last 2 games, 72 and 69 snap percentage. His snap percentage is really high, and that gives him, almost basically all the carries. I think he only had 1 carry that he didn't have, and it went to Chase Edmonds. Yeah. So he's my guy.
Mostert's the guy there. He is the guy in that backfield. I think Edmonds, I think while Tua is out, you won't see a lot of Edmonds. I mean, Edmonds might be on the field when Tua is back and he'll do some of the pass catching work, but Mostert is the guy. I really like the call. I like them. I think I had him twice this year already because the snap percentage was just going up week after week. And then, last week we just seen he took over the backfield. So it's Mostert's backfield. The only thing that'll stop him is an injury because, we do know that he likes to get hurt. But he's a big play guy. He can break off big runs. So if he's sitting out there in your waiver wires, you go snap him up. I know in all my leagues he got snapped up last week, but definitely go have a look because with the way running backs go down and the injuries and this, that, and the other, he's definitely a guy that you can just put on your bench or you can put in even in your flex plug and play. And he'll give you some good production.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, and he is the guy. He would actually be one of my guys to trade right now.
Yeah, I'd go after Mostert.
Sell high.
Yeah, but if I think I was trading for him, I don't think if you had him, you'd want to sell high, all right. But I think if you're going after him, you don't want to give up a whole lot because
Would you do Jacoby Myers for Mostert?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, if I had Jacoby Myers, I'd give some Jacoby Myers for Mostert. No
yeah,
problem.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm fine with that trade.
Yeah, I think he got more upside with Mostert. That's why.
Yeah. Who is your guy? Did he walk into the end zone last week?
He did. He walked all the way in the end zone. It's another one of my Seahawks. It's Ken Walker. Only 47% roster, which is very surprising. I thought there'd be a lot more people just having him hanging around on their benches, knowing that Penny usually gets hurt. And he did. This one's unfortunate as well, I suppose. It was reported as like a fib or a tib. It's one or the other, but it's out for the season.
Is he really out for the season? Don't tell me that. Did I miss that news?
Penny?
Yeah.
Penny, yeah. It looks like he's gone for the whole season, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, so Penny's...
Yeah, keep talking about your Kenny guy.
You're really surprised about him. But yeah, he had 8 attempts for 88 yards last week, and he had the big long touchdown, which got him 14 fantasy points. I mean, he got most of those fantasy points on the one long run, but he's going to be the guy in Seattle now. I think he's probably going to be a low-end RB2 flex play straight off the bat, so you can put him in, and play, and you probably get some good points off him. I think he's looked. I know you're not pretty high on Ken Walker, but I think he's looked pretty good when he's been on the field. Like we said earlier, play the Cards this week. They will give up points to him on the ground. So yeah, I think he's another guy that you can put in this week as your flex, and you have him once he stays healthy. You have him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Kenny be worth more than a penny because Penny is out for the rest of the season.
Oh, how long did it take you to think of that one? That was good.
That was a pretty good one. I actually like Ken Walker now. Because
I actually like him now. I didn't like him 20 minutes ago, but I like him now. With Penny out for the season, he's droppable in every format. I think even in Dynasty, honestly, I don't think Penny's worth any type of penny. But Kenny's worth more than a penny. So go get Kenny, spend all your fab on him because he is going to be the guy. And that's why Seattle drafted him so damn high. And I'm all in on Ken Walker now, only because Penny's out. I liked Penny. I came into the season loving Penny. And Keith and I both had a bet on who would score more, Carson or Penny, and they both out for the season, or one retired. But yeah.
So
I'm taking Ken Walker.
Oh well, Ken Walker obviously now is going to score more. So, anyways, that's our 2 waiver wire running backs: Raheem Mostert and Ken Walker. Make sure to go get your Ken Walker shares and Mostert shares. Now it's time to get to our waiver wire wide receivers. Keith, let's go back to you. Who's your top guy?
Guy that's only 8% roster. It's Alec Pierce for the Indianapolis Colts. He had 9 targets, 8 receptions, 81 yards last week in a really bad game. But Matt Ryan was targeting him a lot, and he is the wide receiver too. We kind of knew coming into the year that this guy was going to be the wide receiver too, but he's actually getting the targets now, and he's showing it. Him and Pittman can be the guys there. I mean, they played the Jags this week. That Texans-Jags game last week was just like a bar fest for most of it, and this could be another one. But I think he will be heavily targeted again by Matt Ryan. We seen last week that the Broncos just took Pittman away for most of the game and left, Alec Pierce wide open. So it meant that he was getting targeted, throw after throw from Matt Ryan. So I think it's another good game for him. You can put him in your flex. I think he'll do pretty well this week. You probably have, 12, 13 points. So yeah, I think he's a guy to go after. He's a very talented guy as well. I think he was underrated coming in. He was a guy I put on my it was my last pick in my drafts. I just put him on my bench and wait to see what happens. So I'm happy to have him there, and he's a good plug and play this week.
Yeah, I like Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce, who if you are in Dynasty, you may have saw that his value went up later on in the year over the summer because of his hype, and now his hype dropped, and then all of a sudden now it's come right back up. So I think if this is might be the only week to go get him. I think he's going to start to get more fantasy relevant. I think so too.
I think as the weeks go on, he's going to have bigger weeks. It's like Matt Ryan's going to get this sorted. I think these Colts are going to get it going as the year goes on. I think that win against the Broncos could turn the screw for them now. And I think you're going to see Pittman and Pierce targeted a lot. So I'd get him sooner rather than later.
Yeah, exactly. I like Pierce a lot. He's a good Pierce in that Indianapolis offense. Anyways, let's go to Jacoby Myers being my guy for wide receiver. Jacoby Myers has been phenomenal. If you had him, you may have benched him like I did. I benched him in a lot of my leagues because, Zappy, you didn't think he was going to zip all over to Jacoby Myers. 24.1 points last week, 8 targets, 7 receptions, 111 yards. Don't forget that 1 touchdown. He's averaging 17.6 points a game in his 3 games. He's 64.2% owned. I think he was dropped by about 2% of the people. So he's starting to slowly go down, but I'm going to expect him to continue to skyrocket because 17.6 points a game is insane. That's wide receiver 1 numbers. And I mean, if Zappy's there, I'm willing to zap Myers into my lineup.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Myers a lot, going back to last year too, that he was always a guy that was solid 12, 13, 14 points guy. No real upside, but he had that floor every week. But what was the big difference this week? He got in the end zone. He got the
Yep.
touchdown. If he is more consistent getting his touchdown, he will get 20-plus points every week. It's just whether he can have that consistency. And looks like Zappi's going to throw to him more. I mean, that's a good thing, I suppose, if Zappi's out there. Maybe Mac Jones is not. But, I mean, going forward, he's definitely a guy to get off the waiver wires. He's going to give you a solid floor. Like you said, he's averaging 17 now. So he has that baseline. And then if he just gets a touchdown, on that, you are very happy. But he just needs to be consistent with the touchdowns. But Jacoby Myers is a very talented guy. I like Jacoby Myers a lot.
Yep. Jacoby Myers, Alec Pierce, our two guys for waiver wire wide receivers. It's time to get to our tight ends. And it was a tight one to try and figure out who would end up being the guy. I'll go with your guy. Let's start with your guy. I'm intrigued to hear about your guy. What you think of him?
So I brought him up last week too. It was Hayden Hurst, and he's getting slowly rostered a little bit more. He's 25% rostered now, but he's 7 targets, 6 receptions, 53 yards, and he got the all-important touchdown last week. 17 fantasy points. I mean, he's been very consistent this year. Not as high as 17 points, but he has gotten into double digits a lot. The way the Bengals are playing, T. Higgins was a big miss. He was out there, I think, only for like 10 snaps or something. Then he got hurt again. So Hayden Hurst filled in that gap, I think, for T. Higgins. They didn't play very well at all, the Bengals. It was not what I was expecting. I thought they were going to pepper that secondary. And, you would have had all the wide receivers and Hurst involved. But, it turns out Hayden Hurst was still involved anyways, even though it was a bad kind of game script, kind of the way it went. It was very tight. I thought it'd be more, open and high scoring. But I think he's a guy that you can plug and play now going forward because he's just so consistent. And these are the type of players you want at tight end. You want to find that guy that's just going to give you consistent numbers every week. If he gives you 10, 11, 12 points and then gets a touchdown some weeks, I think you're going to be happy with that. I'd be happy.
So let me ask you this. Are you starting Everett over Hurst?
No, I think I said that last week. I'd start Everett. I just think the consistency is just too much now. I think Hurst has proven that he can be consistent week in, week out. And Everett just showed, he's a couple of big weeks, but then he has a couple of down weeks. You just can't get that consistency. And we're waiting on Keenan Allen to come back too. So,
all right. What about Njoku and Hurst?
I'm starting Hurst, I think, for now. Njoku's an interesting one though, because I do like him.
Taysom Hill or Hurst?
No, right now it's Hurst. Like I said earlier when we brought up Taysom Hill, if he can be more consistent, then it might switch.
Freiermuth or Hurst?
Well, Freiermuth's been pretty good.
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one. I'm going to lean Hurst purely because he has the connection with Burrows, and now we've switched over quarterbacks in Pittsburgh there. So
those 4 tight ends are right now above Hurst.
Yeah, I think Hurst will end up above them.
Taysom Hill's 7, and he doesn't deserve to be 7. Just wanted to say he's wasting a spot in the tight end.
He is. I mean, that's just because he had the big week too. So
just put him to running back. Just put him in a running back.
Yeah, I mean,
ESPN. Hello.
Yeah,
I'm right down. I'm an hour away from you guys. Come on, I'm gonna go talk to you guys. I'll go with my guy. Let me touch on Hurst. I do like Hurst a lot. Tight ends were really hard to pick this week. I mean, they're just so bad. You're not going to go start Taysom Hill. I mean, Everett's over 70% owned. Njoku's over 70% owned. Conklin hasn't really been doing that great. Disley's an interesting one. I like Disley for Seattle, but again, only 4.1 points last week. So it's stressful. So Hurst is actually the only guy, in my opinion, that I'm willing to go get on the waiver wire. If TJ Hawkinson or Darren Waller is one of your guys and you have to start a tight end this week, you have no one, I'm okay with going Hurst. If Hurst is not there or you lose out on Hurst, I think Evan Ingram is the backup option for me anyways. Evan Ingram, he scored 12.9 points last week, 10 targets, 6 receptions, 69 yards. He didn't have a touchdown, and that's exactly what I like to see. I don't like seeing touchdowns for your tight ends because you just don't know. That's one of the most unknown things. Like, will he get a touchdown? Will he be fantasy relevant if he scores a touchdown? Because he scored 12.9 points with no touchdown, I think I actually really like him. For last week anyways, 20.2% owned, averaging 7.6 points a game. Hasn't really done that much, but he's tight end 15. And he scored over 10 points twice this season. Twice. Not too much, but twice. One of them was against Indianapolis. where he had 8 targets, 7 receptions, 46 yards, 11.6 points. Not to mention, no touchdowns. But who do they face this week? Indianapolis. So if I really had to pick and I had no one else to go and Hurst wasn't there, I'm going Evan Ingram, and I'm fine playing him. If I really have to. If he is my backup option, I'm willing to play Ingram. I know last week I had a problem with tight ends. They were just all out, decided to be injured. And it was a deep league. I actually had to go get Will Dissly. He didn't do much for me. So, yeah. I wish I got Evan Ingram. Wish I started him, but he's the guy I'm going for this week.
I mean, tight end 15 is Evan Ingram. Wow. It kind of shows you the landscape of the tight ends.
Exactly.
It's
not there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not there. I mean, outside the big guys, it's kind of just, you're looking to stream these guys. I mean, Evan Ingram, I'm not a guy I'm on, to be honest. I get what you're saying, Hurst would have been your guy and there's no one else there. Their landscape is not great. So maybe, yeah, if you want to plug and play and hope for the best, yeah, fine. But Evan Ingram was a guy I really liked in New York with the Giants. And I thought he was a really talented, I still think he's a really talented football player.
Injuries have just killed him.
Injuries killed him with the Giants. And yeah, he did okay last week. I mean, he could do okay again. He's just not a guy I'm willing to go out there on yet. So yeah, I'm not big in Evan Ingram, to be honest.
Yeah. So Evan Ingram, Hayden Hurst are our 2 tight ends. And before we go, make sure to give out the one last breaking news that I forgot to mention early on in the show. Go get yourself Hunter Renfro because Devonte Adams is going to get suspended. Devonte Adams.
No, Hunter Renfro's back from last year.
Devonte Adams will be suspended. And the question is, how many weeks is it? That's the biggest question. They are on a bye week this week. Obviously, if you get suspended, the bye week doesn't count. So expect more games. I'm expecting maybe 1, if not 2. I don't expect anything big, but those 2 weeks, Hunter Renfro, boom, guy.
I think you'll get a big fine and a 1-game ban max, I think. I'm a big fan of Adams. He's like my top wide receiver. Love what he does, but what he did to that cameraman. You can't do that. It's you can't take your frustrations.
You got to keep your composure.
He gets it. Exactly. He can't take your frustrations out on anybody else just because you messed up in the play. The cameraman didn't do anything. So that was just ridiculous. Don't like the off-field stuff when it comes to that. But Hunter Renfro, Matt Collins, these guys will be very much relevant for, I'd say, at least 1. You think maybe 2 games while Adams is out.
Yep. So Adams gone out the door. Renfro, he's back. The Renfro train's back. Go start him.
Back, and then Darren Waller, he went out again the game.
Yeah.
So.
See if he's going to be out this week.
Yeah, keep an eye on
next
that.
week. Excuse me.
Yeah. I suppose if you have Devonte Adams in your leagues, I suppose watch the news carefully. You're not going to have him this week because of the bye. But after that, yeah, you could have a look. Could trade him. Yeah, that'd be a smart move.
Yeah, right. Anyways, that's going to do it here for this week's episode. Once again, if you don't use Underdog Fantasy, make sure to go use it. And if you're signing up with them, make sure to use code SportsTimeHQ. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. So you can get a free $100. Can't go wrong with that. You can bid some more, can bet, and then win some more money. And then you can go walk away, go on vacation, Anyways, that's going to do it here for myself, Fernando Geronimo, Sports Time HQ. My co-host, Keith, you can follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. Make sure to follow him and his fiance on Instagram at HuddleUp_NFL. Once again, I'm Fernando Geronimo from Sports Time HQ. We'll see you all next week at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time.